Hi, Joe here again to look at some new characters because it is the 19th of January, which presumably means this is Flash Gala. Be leaving it a bit late if it's not, but that means some new characters to look at. So no idea what we're getting because this is the only thing happening right now is Xenoclashes. I can't see them doing playable versions of those. So this could be literally anyone. There's like nothing relevant happening at the moment that could like clue you in really. So we're just gonna take a look and okay. Halluel and Malluel, interesting. Dark. They for the longest time had a seasonal version, but not a normal version. I think they were the only character in the game where that was the case. Maybe there's some weird edge case with like an SR or an R unit or something, but I think SSR wise that was how they were for ages. I wonder if they're grand. I kind of wish it said if they were grand on this screen. And Amelia, who I have no idea who that is. Maybe she's a brand new character. Maybe she's from another Side Games property like Shadowverse or Rage of Bahamut or whatever. But as always, let us look at some weapons. They are grand, okay. So what are we getting for new Dark Grand Weapon? These 4 weapons of the same weapon group are boosted. Okay, so it's, yep, that's a Percy sword. That's just Lord of Flames again, but in dark. You probably want to use that, I'm going to say. Probably at least one is probably good. Going to say you're probably going to want to use this. It seems strange not to. Like axes are easy to get because of pain and suffering. And if you're primal, then you're using 2 Shalom axes as well, so that's easy for Magna. You can always just, again, you want to use Pain and Suffering in Magna as well, so if you're using Celeste axes as well, that meets that requirement pretty easily. So I'm going to assume you're probably going to want to use this if you have it in Magna or Primal. And this is medium Aegis, medium Garrison, okay, but no FLB, so probably not going to see much use. Let's look at Amelia first. Let's save the grand for later. So Earth character, massive Earth damage to a foe, boost to all allies' Earth attack and multi-attack rate. Okay, so similar to Octo's will be there. Skill 1, 5 hits, Earth damage to random foes, revitalize effect to Earth allies, remove 1 debuff, additional effect, hit number doubles armor effect. What is the additional effect? How do you proc that? We will find out. Boost to Earth allies critical hit rate, keen effect, additional effect, water damage cut. Okay. 1 turn cut to an Earth ally skill cooldowns, attack twice each turn. Additional effect, deal triple attacks. Cool. Take a lethal hit without being knocked out, 1 time lose 1 HP. Skills gain additional effects when Amelia has 12 or more buffs. 1 turn cut to Amelia's skill cooldowns when a foe uses a special attack and activates skill 1. Okay. Pretty simple kit. Nice. Skill damage is nice. Nice. Lots of hits, so 10 hits basically. Some decent enough utility team-wise, like gives Revitalize, which is also charge bar if your HP is full. On a clear. I'd say the cooldown on this is maybe... Cooldown's probably fine on this. I'm just trying to think if there's any, like, off the top of my head, silly broken setups that you can do with this, but nothing that I can really think of. I mean, I suppose you could give it to like a Christmas Naru or something, so she gets double strike on her assassin turn. You could do something like that. Same with like Galleon or something, the turn after she doesn't attack because she gets assassin there. Give her double strike. There's There's probably some cool setups you can do with this. But otherwise, this is a really simple kit. Although I'm somewhat concerned about this, I guess. I mean, if you're using for short fights and you're using Frere Key, I think this is going to make this fairly trivial. But otherwise, for longer fights, you're probably going to be wanting to use someone like, I don't know, like Mahira or something, just to really pump those numbers up. Otherwise, because I think, I mean, without the additional effect, like she's not losing out on too much. She's only losing 60% water cut's pretty nice, but you're probably not always going to need that. The deal triple attacks on here, like I would assume, like the only counters you'd want to give this to would be counters that already have guaranteed triples, or otherwise like really high multi-attack. Anyway, but I do think missing out on this would be kind of a shame, because you could probably get this off pretty reasonably often, just because it auto activates on boss Ogi. So losing it on half of the possible damage of this would be a shame. But she's fine. She seems fine. No, she seems like a solid 9.5 on game width's scale. You know, give or take a 0.1 or 2. But maybe there'll be some silly setup that I'm not thinking about with this, especially if you're using like Chilean as well, so you could just do this 2 turns in a row or something. You could probably get some really nice burst turns with this. But otherwise, I think she's fine. I think on longer fights, you'd more want her for the utility that she brings, but I think if you can't get these additional effects up consistently, she kind of drops in value quite a bit. Is my take on that. So, you know, short and sweet, but she seems fun, possibly, depending on your setup. But now, Halluel and Malluel, who are in dark for some reason. I just assumed they would be light when they got a normal unit, because I don't know, they don't seem to fit in dark really. But anyway, I spoiled myself and saw a link skill there. So Ogi is massive dark damage to foe. Next use of either link skill activates both. That's cool. End cooldown for link skills. Okay. So skills 1 and 2 are linked. 4 hit dark damage to all foes. Hit to defense and debuff resistance. Stackable and can't be removed. Cool. 4 hit dark damage to all foes. Hit to attack and special attack damage. Stackable can't be removed. So every time you Ogi, you get both of these. So that's going to be 8 hits of dark damage. Agonize still winning. So that's cool. And some unlike removable stackable debuffs is pretty nice as well. I think that's, is that the first time we've seen the stackable stuff not being able to be removed? Skill 3, 8 hit plain damage to a foe based on their current HP. Remove buffs based on the number of foes' debuffs. Max 5 Everbane effect. So that's same as their summon, I believe. Deal multi-attacks. Stella Repentina, which is skill 3, activates at the end of turn when the foe has 5 or more buffs. Cool. Boosts CA damage and CA damage cap based on the foe's number of debuffs. Upon using charge attacks when the foe has 10 or more debuffs, charge attack activates twice. That's cool, although it's a shame that you're not going to get the benefit of this twice in a row. But, so how I'm reading this is, I'm assuming that for every debuff they have, it dispels 1 buff. So if they have 5 debuffs, it will remove 5 buffs if they have that. So obviously the big thing that jumps out where fights have a lot of buffs is the 50% trigger on nightmare fights in Guild War. But if they don't have, but that 50% trigger always clears all debuffs anyway, before it gives the boss like 4 buffs. So assuming I'm reading this and I'm interpreting this correctly, that just means it wouldn't remove any of those buffs because they wouldn't have any debuffs. I don't know how useful this is going to be in terms of, you know, that sort of situation. I don't know, like, you have quick ways to get rid of those debuffs anyway. Like, if you wanted to... I mean, you could always just... I suppose if your setup is timed right, you could just re-up a bunch of debuffs and then cast this and remove a bunch of things. But you could also just, you know, anyone who's taking Guild War half seriously probably has Beelzebub, who can just cast that at 50% and remove most of those debuffs. But then at the same time, if you're full autoing, then maybe, you know, if they're in the 4th slot, so this activates like towards the end of the full auto turn, so you can get a bunch of debuffs up beforehand. I want to see, like, this is potentially very, very good for nightmare fights in Guild War or otherwise, but it might not be at all. To be determined, I think. I want to see some like actual like numbers and some like clarification on how this works. Because if you're playing manually, then it's fine, because you could probably just, you know, you get close to the 50% trigger, you just save your debuff skills until after 50%, boss clears, gives themselves a bunch of buffs, and then you just re-up those debuffs and then cast this to automatically strip all those buffs out. But in a full auto setting, where I think everywhere higher than like Nightmare 95 is what a lot of people like to just do full auto, it might not quite work out that way. Assuming that I'm interpreting this right, is that it needs to have debuffs in order to get the dispels. But otherwise, seems pretty good. This seems like a situation it's not going to happen very often. Like do all the omens and stuff in like the super high end fights? Not the omens, I can't remember what name call them. All the trumpet buffs that like Farsan gets, the labors. Like, do they count as individual buffs? So like, will this just auto activate every single turn if you're doing Farsan in Dark with her? That could potentially be really strong. You know, like Super Baja starts with those 6 stacks that you have to lower by cancelling omens. Like, do they count as buffs, causing this to auto activate? Like I said, like, I'm not sure how to interpret it. Like, I think everyone's going to see this and go, fucking yes, Nightmare 200, let's go, 50% trigger, easy. But like I'm saying, if they don't have debuffs, like, I'm assuming this is 1-to-1, where every debuff they have, it will dispel a buff that they also have. So for stuff like a Nightmare 50% trigger, you're going to have to do some finagling to get the most out of this, and it's probably not going to work super well in full auto. But you could work around it if you're manualing, and also I think if it does work with stuff like labors in Farsan and what have you, they could potentially be super strong, just because it would go off presumably basically every turn. But because Wiki's not updated, I don't actually know how much damage this does. 8 hit point damage, I'm assuming, is probably not too much. I mean, maybe it's 1 million per hit. Maybe it's, you know, or, you know, 6 9s. So maybe this is like 8 million damage per cast. Who knows? It wouldn't be that crazy. Galleon's 6 hit one is basically that, I think. I don't remember. But it's decent damage anyway, so I would assume this is the same. Especially considering she's a grand unit anyway, so... But otherwise, lots of skill damage, which is nice in Dark, because that's basically all Dark is these days, is skill damage, plus a bunch of stackable stuff, which apparently can't be removed. I think that's new. Double Ogies, potentially. And, you know, increased Ogie cap stuff anyway. So potentially pretty strong? Potentially? Whether or not she will, you know, force out one of the big three in Dark at the moment. Six, Fediel, and Lich. You know, maybe she, like I said, maybe because of stuff like this, you could maybe slow her in some of the more kind of esoteric endgame fights, where, you know, the kind of fights that you can't just steamroll with those three all the time. But she seems pretty good. Depending on how this shakes out, like once, you know, numbers and like more actual clarification comes out, potentially super strong in the Guild War Nightmare fights. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. So yeah, thanks for watching. And until next time. I don't know if it's next time Valentine's characters. No, I think that's February Flash. I don't think they come out on end of January like Fest. I don't think. I'm pretty sure it's February Flash. So until next time, where it will be more normal characters probably, unless maybe it's Valentine's. I don't think so, but who knows. See ya!